Before I get this video started, I want to announce that I've partnered with Chrono.gg. Chrono.gg is a website that offers a new incredible deal on a game every single day. And in addition to supporting me, purchases made through June 14, 2018 will benefit not just me, but also the ESA Foundation, which helps kiddos get into game design college. Today's deal is Warhammer Vermintide 2 for a mere $20. I've been enjoying this game immensely with my friends, so I highly recommend it for some rat-slaying cooperative fun. Go to chrono.gg/ingeniousclown to snag your copy if you don't have it already, or click the link in the description below. If you want to find out more about this awesome service, I'll give more details at the end of this video. Oh man, why did I choose this as a video topic? Well, alright. Here we go. Piracy. What a topic. I'm certainly not the first person to cover this, nor will I be the last, but I do think that it's something that's worth having a conversation about. If you're a person that somehow doesn't know what piracy is, here is a brief definition. Piracy in the digital world is the act of obtaining or distributing an illegal copy of a piece of media. Anime, TV shows, movies, video games, music, these are all subject to piracy. I've been wanting to talk about this for a while now. Being a fan of anime and working towards a career of voice acting myself, I follow a number of anime voice actors on Twitter. Every once in a while, one of them will bring up piracy and talk about pirating anime and how there's literally no reason ever to pirate anime or games or TV or anything, ever. No questions asked, no leniency given. I've seen some arguments go so far as to say that the act of pirating is the same as actively harming the industry and directly stealing from creators. And that got me to thinking, is it correct to so vehemently oppose piracy in this way? Before I continue, let me put this as plainly as I possibly can. I do not condone piracy. I do not support piracy. You should pay money for the content you consume if that content costs money. And getting content for free when you can otherwise afford it is harmful to the industry. Again, if that content costs money. I know that many actors and directors follow me on Twitter, and some may have ended up clicking on this video after I shared it, curious to hear a conversation about this touchy subject, but I think it's important to try to approach things from a balanced point of view, so... all that said, I believe piracy should exist, and in fact, does plenty of good. I'll spend the rest of this video trying to explain this belief as best as I can. This won't be a video completely condemning pirates like you might have hoped, nor will it be a video justifying all piracy like that one infamous video titled "You Should Pirate Anime" by Unique Nameosaurus. I won't be delving into the statistics behind piracy because there's plenty that you can dig up yourself and plenty of videos that already do this, but rather I'll be talking about my experiences with piracy and the gray spaces in between the two extremes. Imagine this. You're 14 years old again, and you've just come home from a long, arduous day at school. Your friends are busy, you have no homework, there's nothing interesting on TV, and you don't really feel like playing any of your video games right now. So what are you gonna do? Well, around lunchtime today, one of your friends happened to mention this weird show called Naturu or something like that, and it's about ninjas, and ninjas are awesome! So you hop on the computer and start your search. Eventually you discover how stupid you were and that the show is actually called Naruto, and after some reading and figuring out what the heck a BitTorrent is, you manage to download the first few episodes and you're hooked. It's in Chinese or something like that. But there's subtitles in the video, so you don't care. This is your new favorite show. This story is actually pretty close to how I personally got my start with watching anime. I needed something to do, discovered Naruto, and learned how to download it. In the beginning, I had no idea that what I was actually doing was even considered pirating. But if I'm being honest, it really didn't take me long to figure it out. But I didn't care. I was 14, found my method, and I was sticking to it. Plus, I didn't know how else to even watch this show. It wouldn't even start airing in the United States until 2005, 3 years after it had started, and a little over 2 years after I had personally discovered it. Over the years, I would also watch other shows like Bleach, Hunter x Hunter, the Dot Hack series, Death Note, Now and Then Here and There, Samurai 7, and many, many more. Discovering Naruto and how to watch it opened me up to a whole new world of content and a lifelong love of anime that persists to this day. And in a way, it opened me up to a whole new culture and language that I, as a middle-class suburban white kid in Texas would not have had access to otherwise. But this was many years ago in a different time of the internet. Anime distribution has become much more streamlined and easier than ever, and in some cases, even free while still remaining completely legal. So while I may have had some excuse during that time period when I was in my teens, it's much less of an excuse today. Households are more likely to have a subscription to Netflix. Hulu has many free options, as terrible and as limiting as they might be sometimes. Amazon Prime has a few solid choices and is also something a household might have. And Crunchyroll has a massive library of anime that you can access completely for free. Even for these various streaming platforms, the monthly cost of each one is going to be much cheaper than buying a season of whatever anime you want to watch on DVD or Blu-ray, with much more versatility that allows you to try shows that you might not have otherwise cared about, and the freedom to drop them if you hate them. What I'm trying to say is that it's become a lot more convenient to consume anime and TV shows and movies with the advent of these popular streaming platforms. And that, at least, has stopped me from torrenting these shows that I want to watch unless I absolutely can't find them anywhere. And even then, I'll probably just completely skip them at this point because I've had a taste of this convenience. But back to my 14-year-old Naruto-loving self, anime was just the beginning for me. Eventually, I discovered that I could download video games in much the same way that I downloaded this anime, and similarly, I discovered and got to play many different titles that I otherwise would have never touched. Black and White, Heroes of Might and Magic 5, Dungeon Keeper 2, The Elder Scrolls Oblivion, and Fable are just a few of the games that I acquired and enjoyed in this way. It's not like I never bought games once I discovered this method of acquisition, and I can't say for sure if I had any rhyme or reason for which ones I bought and which ones I, well, didn't. But for the most part, these are games that I never would have bought otherwise. Except Oblivion, I probably would have bought that. I was a teenager without a job, almost completely reliant on my parents. I had precious little cash, as most do at that age, so it's not like I could purchase, on a whim, any game that so much as looked interesting. So I did what I could. Eventually I got a job, graduated high school, got into college, and got a better paying job while going to school there. Suddenly I had more money and bought a lot of games instead of pirating them. Coincidentally, this was around the same time that Steam started to make video game discovery and purchase much easier than ever, in much the same way streaming platforms did. Not that they came first, I'm just drawing a parallel here. It was a great way for me to spend money and a convenient avenue to purchase my games, and I was happy to do it, especially since my goal at college was to become a game developer. Once I graduated college, however, some things happened and I found myself without my old part-time job and no full-time job lined up. I spent nearly a full year living with my parents with no job, waiting for the company that would take me under their wing to help me start my career. But until then, what did I have? I had no income, so I had to be careful with my spending. I spent a lot of time applying for jobs and not hearing back, interviewing and not getting the job. And there's only so much of this that you can do in a day without going crazy, and after a while, you start to see a lot of the same job postings over and over again. Either you're underqualified, you've already applied, or the job is just a scam. I'm sure plenty of you can relate and have found yourself in the same boat. I know it's a first world problem, but it's an absolutely maddening and frustrating and demoralizing experience that I wouldn't wish upon anyone. I probably could have gotten a part-time job at any point during that experience, but when you've just graduated college, you're left with a sense that your career is just around the corner. And I didn't want to waste my time or the time of whoever would hire me just to have me quit within a couple of weeks. But in bad situations like that, you need some time away from it all. I was a gamer and had always been a gamer, so I spent the interim time gaming. But because I had no income, I unfortunately had to revert back to piracy if I was going to make my money last as long as possible while still experiencing new games. So that's what I did. It's worth mentioning that once I finally did get a job, I spent some of my first paychecks on paying back those game developers who helped carry me through that difficult time by purchasing their games for real. And I say it was a difficult time, but in reality I still had it pretty good. My wonderful mother, as sick as she was of me not having a job during that time, was there to keep me away from poverty. I was able to live there under her roof while she fed me and paid the bills until I managed to finally get a job, so all things considered, I didn't have a difficult time. But that was just my experience. Let's crank this misery up a bit. Imagine this. You're a 20-something college graduate. Turns out you didn't learn quite as much as you thought from college. Because even though you're now $80,000 in debt from a university that everyone has told you is pretty good and impressive to have on your resume, you couldn't seem to land a job that pays any better than $37,000 a year with barely any benefits to speak of. You have an incredibly high deductible on your medical insurance, which is too bad because you've recently broken your leg and now you're stuck with thousands of dollars of hospital bills because your insurance doesn't really cover much, as it turns out. On top of that, your hunk of junk car seems like it needs a new repair every single month, which cuts into your second job that's now on the verge of firing you because, hey, you're part-time anyway and they can hire someone younger who doesn't have so much baggage. On top of that, your jerk of a landlord is raising your rent again. You're barely keeping yourself afloat as it is, and on top of that, your favorite leisure activity is gaming, and it's so expensive! Look at this poor guy. He probably needs 3 jobs to even start climbing his way out of debt at this point, and he has no business spending money on anything that has anything to do with leisure or entertainment. But he needs it. This poor guy needs some method of escapism as much as the rest of us do. Maybe he doesn't like books, maybe he doesn't care for Fortnite. Maybe what he wants to do is get lost in an epic RPG experience like Final Fantasy XV, or a grand strategy game like Civilization to wind down. Maybe those are his favorite kind of games to play. And maybe he enjoys some anime, or some movies, or some TV, I don't know. All I know is that this guy needs some level of entertainment and escapism in his life, even if he needs to steal it. I don't want this person to spend a single dime on video games or media until he's pulled himself out of whatever hole he's in. I've seen people counter this idea by saying that these forms of entertainment are a form of luxury, and if you can't afford the luxury, then you shouldn't have it. I find that line of thought to be exclusionary for no real reason beyond what might be a defensive reaction to protect your favorite industry or an industry that you're in. It makes enough sense why people would think this, but the whole situation is more nuanced than piracy is bad.
Now, as I was saying,
Piracy.
they're bad. You shouldn't do.
Piracy?
If you do them, you're bad because
Piracy.
you're bad. Okay, it's a bad thing to do.
Piracy.
So don't be bad by doing.
Piracy.
Okay, that'd be bad.
Piracy.
You're bad.
Here's the thing though, if this wasn't 2018 and the internet hadn't changed distribution in the way that it has, I would not be making this argument. Whether it's a naive 14-year-old or an adult in debt up to his teeth, people need entertainment to balance out responsibility. And because of how digital distribution works, when a person downloads and pirates a show or a game in this way, it's literally a victimless crime. These people weren't going to spend money they don't have. They're not stealing inventory from a store who has to report their shrinkage and are losing money as a result of it. It directly harms no one and makes these people happy. And isn't that what entertainment is supposed to be about? Please keep in mind that I'm not saying that every single instance of piracy is victimless. That's far from the case. If you can afford these things and they're available in your area, you should buy them. I believe that if you have the means to support the things that you like and choose not to for whatever reason, the crime is no longer victimless. And that's not even mentioning the groups of people who are creating the pirated media for people to download. I'm not even going to pretend to understand what their motivations are for what they do. That's a whole different topic of conversation. But I want to say that I'm glad that they exist. And it's a weird feeling for me to reconcile because on one hand, it's thievery, plain and simple. And they're enabling many thousands of people who can otherwise afford to legally consume this media to consume it for free under weak justifications like higher quality or harmful exclusivity contracts or service stability issues that might exist but I personally never ran into. But piracy also helps expand the fandoms of people who can't otherwise participate in one way or another. Naruto was pretty big in the US before it ever officially got dubbed. Word of mouth still spreads these fandoms and can potentially create even more sales, regardless of whether or not the person that is spreading that word originally pirated it. It's probably pretty impossible to get real concrete numbers, but I'd be willing to bet that if piracy didn't exist, much of this media would see less sales and less fans overall as a result. I know that without it, Hunter x Hunter probably would not be my favorite anime. I wouldn't have discovered one of my favorite games and genres in Dungeon Keeper 2, and I'm certain that this same thing can be said by many of you today, whether you've become a paying customer or are still a pirate for whatever reasons you have. So yes, I'm glad that piracy in its current form in the digital era is a thing. But what about you? I'd be interested in hearing if any of you watching used to pirate anything regularly and have switched over to legal consumption, and why. For me, it was a combination of availability of the service and availability of funds, as well as a feeling of personal guilt when it comes to creation, as someone who keeps dipping further and further into the entertainment industry. But the story is different for everyone, so I'd love it if you shared. I'd like to end this video by reiterating one of my biggest points. If you have the means to play or watch something without pirating it, please do. Crunchyroll and Hulu are solid services bringing shows to people for free in a 100% legal way. Verve is a service that I happen to use that gives you access to a lot of different streaming platforms. Steam and GOG and Green Man Gaming make many hundreds of games much more affordable than they have been in the past, if you're willing to wait a little while for their price to drop. And so do services like Chrono.gg, whom I've partnered with to help bring you great deals on great games. And when I say great deals, I mean it. That means deals like Shadow Warrior 2 for 67% off, and Astroneer for 30% off, as well as today's deal, June 12, 2018, of Warhammer Vermintide 2 for just $20. Every purchase made through my link, chrono.gg/ingeniousclown, will directly support this channel, and this week, that's the 10th to the 14th, for E3, a third of the proceeds will benefit the ESA Foundation, which provides grants to recipients such as Extra Life, Girl Start, and iCivics. The foundation also provides scholarships to women and minority students pursuing degrees in computer programming and game design. And if that's not enough for you, anyone who makes a purchase during this E3 sale will earn enough Chrono Coins to redeem a free game from the Chrono Coin shop. Cheap games, benefits to charity, and to me, and none of that sketchy gray market nonsense? If that sounds good to you, bookmark this link and check it every day to see what deals pop up. As for the topic at hand, hopefully I've been able to present a balanced argument during the course of this video. I've been thinking about these things for a long time, and I feel pretty strongly about them, but I'm open to counter-arguments, so please feel free to open up with some discussion below if you haven't already. If you like the video, hit that thumbs up button. If you dislike the video or hate the way that I say Hunter, Hunter, hit that thumbs down button and subscribe for more awesome gaming content here in the future, and I will see you next time.